I'm going to introduce a couple of trickier riffs now. At this point you should already be familiar with the 12 bar blues in A sequence, the chord progression. You should be able to have memorised which chords there were, for example the A's, the D's, the E's. So you've practiced the riff. By now that sequence should be okay. If it's not, go back to where it's not okay, whichever point it's become not okay, and take it from there. This isn't going to help you just sort of pushing on, carrying on, if you're not up to speed with what we've done previously. As the same with learning everything, it's important to get those things now, because I'm adding more information, I'm adding more difficulty. There's no benefit in trying to do that if the other bits aren't up to scratch. As I said, the tempo, the speed doesn't matter that you're doing it at. You can play it at 10 BPM, no worries, but have it nice and clean and understand what you're doing. Understanding what you're doing is the main thing before I move on. Quickly, in my last video I covered the finger positioning thing. It's going to become obvious why we need to do that now, because I'm going to do two riffs in this video to add to the one that you've already learned. And these are going to require you to use 4 frets, so 4 fingers, using our positional play technique that I made a big point of, and sort of a big issue type thing, because it is a big issue. Right, so 2 new riffs. The other challenge with these as well, that's why I want to make sure you're up to speed with the previous stuff, is we're going to play twice as many notes. So the last one that we did, that's 1 bar of music, and we're playing what we call quarter notes. I'm not going to get too much into the theory, but that means that we're going to play a note on each count of 1, 2, 3, 4. So as you were playing along to your metronome or the backing track, you were playing 1, 2, 3, 4. So those are quarter notes played in a bar. For the next 2 riffs we're going to play what's called 1/8 notes. So as the name suggests, we've gone from quarter, which is 4, to 1/8, which is 8. So we're going to have 8 notes in each bar rather than 4 notes. Now, immediately, if you're up to speed with your maths, you're thinking, ooh, that's twice as many notes, I'm going to have to play it twice as fast. Not necessarily. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to slow it down to half the speed so that it's comfortable to play those notes, but the riff is a little bit more interesting because we've got some more notes in it. The objective here is not to try and make you play faster or play twice the speed suddenly. The objective is just to have a slightly different hand experience, moving around some different notes and playing something that sounds a little bit more interesting. So 2 riffs. The first riff that I'll introduce to you is, as I say, it's 8 notes. So to begin with, we're going to start with the usual starting position, the 5th note on the E string. From there we're going to go up to the 8th note on the same string, the E string. So there we need to have our positional play, first finger, little finger, and then we're going to move to our A string, our 5th string, and we're going to play 5th fret, 6th fret, 7th fret, so we've got 3 in a row there, and then back down there, 6th fret, 5th fret, and finish on back on our E string on the 8th fret. Doesn't sound like much when I've just done it like that, but if I play it in time without the pauses, it should sound something like this. And again, going back to our other riff that we practiced, this we're going to call our A position riff. This is our A position riff, and it fits into our 12 bar pattern just the same as the other riff. We're going to play this wherever we see the A in our pattern. Now, just like the other riff, it's going to be a movable riff. So when we've played those first 4 bars of A, we're going to want to move that, just the same as the last riff. We're going to move it across a string and start on our A string. Same frets, just a different string. I'm going to play 5th fret of our A string, 8th fret of our A string, 5th fret of our D, 6th fret of our D, 7th fret of our D, and back down, 6th fret of our D, 5th fret of our D, and finish on the 8th fret of our A. So from going from our A position on this new riff to our D position, and if you're comfortable with the original riff practice that we did on the 4-note riff, you'll know that our E position is exactly the same as that, but just moved up 2 frets. So it's going to be so we've got 3 different positions. We're playing the same pattern, the exact same shape of our hand, but we're just starting from 3 different starting positions. The A1, the D1, and the E1. As I said, we've got 8th notes, so we're playing twice as many notes. So if you were to use your metronome at the same speed, you'd have to play twice as fast. So what I've done on my metronome, let's give a real quick example. I've dropped my metronome down. I think I was playing at 100 on the last one or so. I've half the speed, I've dropped it down to 50. But I've also done on the, it's just an app I'm using, the metronome, I've changed my note setting to 8th notes instead of quarter notes. Don't worry if your metronome doesn't do that, you can still do it anyway, but it does feel a lot easier to play along to if your metronome's at the correct setting. So I've got my metronome set at 50 on 8th notes. You can hear the tick of it isn't any faster than the previous riff. Change the D. I'll not play the full thing through. If you're familiar with the original riff exercise, you should be able to work it out based upon the 12-bar sequence, so there's no need for me to waste time playing the playthrough. The second new riff that I'm going to show you, again, it's going to be 8th notes, so that metronome setting I'm going to keep, so half speed metronome, so that it's not going to be too fast for us when we're just starting out and when we're just learning. We can make it a comfortable speed, but the riff's going to be same starting position, 5th fret on our 6th string or E string. So I'm going to start from there. Remember our positional play, hand position. I'm going to play 2 notes this time on there. Then I'm going to play, my next note is going to be my 7th fret on that string. Back to my 5th fret. 8th note. Back to my 5th fret. And then, this one's a little bit of a tricker. My 5th fret on my A string. Back to my 5th fret on my E string. So might sound familiar. The little trick I'm using there, I'm using a little a tiny little bar just across 2 strings, my E string and my A string. So I'm keeping my pressure down on those 2 strings whilst I play the riff. If I don't do that, I'm going to end up having to move this finger around to jump to that A string. By keeping that little bar on there, I don't have to do the jump. I can leave that where it is, nice and comfy, nice and easy, and just play the other notes using my, in this case, my third and my fourth finger. Again, that's my A position riff. We'll move it down to our D position, so just across the string, just like the other ones. 5th fret on your A string. So on the A string we're going 5, 5, 7, 5, 8, 5, and then 5 on the D string, 5 on the A string. But I'm not moving, I'm using my little bar again. For the E position, that same one, moved up. So 7, 7, 9, 7, 10, 7, 7, 7. Exactly the same principle as the original riff, the straightforward 1, 2, 3, 4 riff that we practiced. So have a go at those. I won't do a playthrough to save time. If you're struggling, leave me a comment or a message or something. If you really want me to do a playthrough, I will do a playthrough of them. But by now, if you've done the other exercise and familiar with the 12 bars, you probably shouldn't need it. You'll be able to practice along to your metro or to the backing tracks that I'll provide. Next one is going to be some actual genuine lead guitar, not just copying what I've done. So look forward to that, and as ever, enjoy.